Oh, no.
So they're thawing out little by little.
All right, guys, it's 6 o'clock. Let's call this meeting to order. Let's rise to the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and also our mission statement. I'm going to go ahead and read that. In partnership with the communities, the mission of the Dilworth Glen Felton School District is to educate individuals in an environment of trust and respect so they become self-directed, responsible, lifelong learners. Okay, we have all 7 board members present. We have Mr. O'Keefe, Mrs. Critchley, Mrs. Hilla, and Mr. Pegason, and we have Mr. Hunstead joining us tonight. So welcome. Do we have any changes to the agenda, Brian?
No, we do not.
No change to the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Nicole, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brittany. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public comments and rebel recognition. We did have one comment today. Let me find it on my phone here. Kayla Lauer from representing EMDGF Executive Council wanted us to read a comment tonight. On behalf of the EMDGF, we would like to extend a very big thank you to Beth Renner, Kayla Walton, and Brooke Velka for their amazing work helping to coordinate COVID-19 vaccines. We know they have been putting in countless hours working with both the state and county to ensure that the district is aware of any available vaccines for DGF employees. So thank you again so much for the work that you are doing. Please know that you are appreciated. So that was our comment. Rebel recognition, same as always. Appreciate our staff, appreciate everybody pitching in for the observers, pitching in our superintendent search. Feels like a long time ago, but like it was just last week. So thank you again to everybody for their cooperation and all that good stuff. And our athletic teams are in full swing. I know our speech did very well last weekend, right, Joe? Our speech team did very well. We had our dancers placed in both kick and jazz. I saw the places. We had one play.
Yep, when I played they competed and they got third. And they were like 1 point away from getting second, and they would have gone on to regionals. But yeah, they did very well. It's the best they've done in several years.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. That's good news. And the boys basketball team, they're doing well. Girls basketball team, they've been coming together. And wrestlers, we have a lot of wrestlers. I don't know. They're doing well too. So anyway, I'm just thrilled that our kids are able to participate in this COVID world. So that's a major blessing. So awesome. Okay, well, reports. Let's see. Are you guys doing it together? Or? All right. We have Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Hilla to talk about. Why don't you stand here so everybody at home can see you?
Perfect. Well, we're going to make it short and sweet tonight. We communicate a lot about on a district level what we're doing with COVID and those kinds of things. We're just going to talk a little bit about what's going on in our school, and you did get a handout. So when I have been talking a little bit about summer targeted services, how we want to really, if we're able to really ramp it up and start focusing on how we can get kids in the building for the summer and not just like the 2 weeks that we did before. So we want to talk about that and see how we can do that a little bit better. I started writing the student integration grant it's due March 15th. So that money is there. I think it's around $105,000 this year from what I read on the report. So, okay, yes. The LEDA test, the access test for EL learners is now underway. Jenna Polly is doing a phenomenal job with that and started testing today.
Construction at both sites, we're still kind of in, we all know the situation there, status quo right now. Keeping people positive, try to avoid the frustration. Vaccine roll-off has gone, we were able to get a lot of our staff, I'm sure Brian's got the exact numbers, but we're looking in that 30s is what we had left, and possible another round tomorrow. I don't, just with able to put everyone employed by DGF is able to have an opportunity, which is fantastic. So that has gone well, and that has actually exceeded the timeline expectations.
And then we are having our teachers are participating in their math professional development that we purchased with our package for Hoop and Mifflin. Right now they're working on some coaching sessions, so they can either do 1 30-minute session, and they can do 4 of those, or they can do 2-hour sessions. So the teachers are setting those up and getting stuff taken care of there, and they're loving them. They're absolutely loving them. And then it is I Love to Read month, so we have a class picture on the 11th. Doesn't have to do with I Love to Read month, but right now the Glidden Felton Elementary Readathon is actually when I wrote $6,680. That was this morning. They're now at $6,800 raised in 1 week. We have our 2nd annual art show up on the website. Kids do artwork that corresponds with the books. We have that up on our Glidden Felton page. We've been having virtual guest readers, dress-up days, and reading challenges for the kids. And I've been catching a lot of kids reading, so that's kind of fun too for me.
Then we are doing our class pictures tomorrow, so we won't participate in the pajama day. History reader, dress-up days, the theme with super readers, and then we won't do the readathon. We'll be looking to kick up the walkathon, and once again, there's a focus, which is going to be great for the elementary site, something a little bit more inclusive or sensory out on the playgrounds for those kids to meet them. So that's kind of the plan, where we're at.
And I probably should tell you the goal of our readathon. It's arts, bringing arts and culture into the school. Any questions for us? I think that's the shortest read.
I think so. I think we should take some pictures. We have Tracy put some pictures on our Facebook and our Instagram. It's always fun to see the kids.
Absolutely.
I like when we put our team pictures, and if they sign a little waiver, just fun to see happy smiling kids. Okay, so we've got lots of board committee reports. So I know, Brittany, go ahead, you have wellness, so I'll let you go ahead with that.
All right, I know Jason McCoy from the Clay County Tobacco Prevention gave the Wellness Committee a presentation, and I wasn't able to meet that, but we met afterwards, and he gave some statistics and a shortened version of his presentation to me, talking about the use of flavored tobacco. Their goal is to basically stop the sales of flavored tobacco for Dilworth and other towns within the county. But they're starting with Dilworth and working on Moorhead. And so their big ask of us is to write a letter of support. So when he brings it to the Dilworth City Council, that he's looking for letters of support to basically say we are with them, we approve the stopping of the sales of flavored tobacco. Some interesting statistics he gave from a survey in 2019 of DGF. I think it was 11th grade took the survey. 43% of kids have used a vape. So, and I think, I want to say upper 90s started with flavored tobacco, flavored vapes. So it was a lot of information, but another interesting statistic that stuck out to me was one vape pod, which he said was like a typical use for a vapor, has 2 times amount of nicotine as 2 packs of cigarettes. Sorry, 2 packs of cigarettes for one vape pod. So we know that vaping isn't healthy. It's just an alternative that kids are using. So his ask was for a letter of support. He also noted that Moorhead gave a letter of support. He just wanted that to be like, we're not the only people he's asking to get on board with this. So if you guys have questions, I have a lot more statistics, but it could take a long time to go through.
If you would like to, I mean, I think, we've been addressed as a school board by staff the concerns of vaping, and that's why we do not have doors on our bathrooms. Nicole can speak to it as a school resource officer. I can speak to it as a respiratory therapist. It's a huge issue. I think we should fully support this and, promote health in our school district. And if everybody's good with it, I would let Brittany draft up that letter and we can all sign it next time.
So is there a wellness meeting before the next board meeting? No.
I'm not sure when the next wellness,
Otherwise, if we get something, whether we get Kimberly and with us not involved, putting a draft together, we can send it out to the whole wellness. So
Yeah.
that we know, okay, here's coming right from the wellness, here's, something that they would recommend for the board. And then we can bring it right into the next meeting on the 22nd.
yeah, Kimberly sent the whole wellness committee an email and it has kind of a rough draft of the letter of support. And she mentioned that I think other departments like the health and fire department, what other, the wellness committee, let's see. A few other departments within the school were on board and also writing that letter of support. So I know she is on board, but we can definitely meet again. And Jason said he would love to come and give a presentation to the board or do like a parent presentation. He knows that might have to be virtual, but he said it's just good information to have, and then they know exactly why we support or if we don't, whatever our choice is. But he's more than willing to put in the time and come out or come out virtually and share that information and presentation that he gave to the wellness committee too.
I know his came out before and talked to, our senior high kids, was it?
There's a few different.
Last year, yeah, middle school, and then we offered a parent session also, and we had some parents come, we did parents, middle school and high school. We did, yeah. And then we did a special group with our leadership, I think, of our student council at the high school, I think it was.
Yeah, that was.
And then the pandemic hit.
The pandemic hit, so yeah, I mean, I
He has a
think,
really good variety of things that are new and upcoming, and of some of the trends of things to watch for,
yeah.
which was really good, being in the schools and watching for some of those things. Really helped, like as a parent too, when people start asking questions, to offer that up and,
So he's proposing a letter of support in banning all flavored.
In all flavored tobacco, not just vapes. That, yes,
In the city of Dover.
in the city of Dover. Also, interestingly enough, like smoking went down to 5%. Like that is huge, but he said that's why the rise in increase to the vaping. It's just a different access, different tool.
I talked to him a couple weeks ago because obviously I work in the schools and we are dealing with a lot of the same things. He said that single use has gone down because there hasn't been that congregation of kids for that single time at a party. He likened it to people who only smoke when they drink alcohol. So it's with those kids who've had that social interaction piece, that has gone down. But the kids who are vaping regularly, their usage is exponentially higher because they're at home and it's accessible to them, no matter if they're in a class or not. So I personally would be in support of us getting that letter together.
And I know he's looking at kind of similar things from Moorhead, Dilworth, and Barnesville, just because their tobacco license runs different from the rest of the cities in the county. So then he'll move directly to work with the county after he does the 3 different municipalities, so.
Interesting. Any other questions?
Well, this should provide us time, if we can get one on that. Talk to Kimberly a little bit. It would give us time to have the wellness, even if it's email, thumbs up, everybody.
Yeah.
And then our middle school leadership team, high school leadership team. That way, when we bring it to the board, it can be, this is coming with, all of these groups supporting, just so the board,
Great idea.
which will definitely help us dealing with the city of Dilworth. And I know people I've talked to, this is one of those, let's just get it done.
Wonderful. Anybody else have committees? David, want to give us a little update
Sure.
on negotiations?
Yeah, so just, Janet and I met and we went over contract, and I don't know how much detail you want with regard to the contract, but essentially, we agreed on a salary of $140,000 with a piece of that, and you've all seen the contract, but a piece of that going towards, or an additional amount of $30,000 going for health insurance and VIVA. So depending on how Mr. Hunstead decides to take health insurance, and then amount for 403B of $2,500. And you saw the escalators in there as well. So very much in line. We looked at all the contracts in the various schools around our area, and we're right in line with that. Where Brian's contract would have been, if he had a little more normal situation. And I feel really good about the agreement we went over. There's always other little details that go in there, but I think Shannon for being such a good partner and getting it done, so.
Is it okay if I address the board at this time, or? Is it okay if I address
Sure.
the board at this time? Is that okay or no? Can you
Yep,
guys
go
hear me?
ahead.
Okay, sorry. Well, I just, a couple things. First of all, I just want to thank all of you for, I guess I'll just say it this way, choosing me. My family is very excited about this opportunity. I also want to thank Brian. I met with Brian a little bit last week on Thursday for a while. I appreciate that time. And then, of course, the administrators on Friday that I got to spend time with and walk around the buildings. It meant a lot to me. And then Heidi, today, we were able to connect today, so I appreciate that. Then lastly, David, for your time Saturday and working with me and back and forth, I really appreciated that. We are very excited about this move, and so just can't wait to get started, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board committee reports?
I just have one more thing. For the Clay County Lab, I emailed all the admin today and the nurses with just a detail that I got that they're expanding their mobile dental services in the region. So there's opportunities to provide dental care in the building for some kids. So if we want that, to reach out. But I know Beth responded to me and said that they've been in touch with Linden Felton Elementary, and they're going to provide some dental care education and some goodie bags for the kids. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Awesome. Okay, any other committees? All right, Ryan.
Few things, won't be too long. COVID testing. COVID testing has gone well, but as vaccinations have increased, the testing for COVID has decreased. It's been quite a drop. This past week, last week we had only 6 people that did testing. We still have 160 some kits left. We started with 200, if that puts it in perspective on how many we have done. So we have plenty for now. If we need more, every time we do a testing week, we have the option, we have to put in how many people tested by site, and then whether we need more for any of the sites. So I'm not anticipating we'll need more. Vaccinations have been outstanding. We all know there's been different testing sites for or not testing sites, vaccination locations. The pilot one that was in Fergus Falls through the co-ops, and again, it was the co-op cities. It wasn't directly with the co-ops, but it was those locations. So they were, they really weren't directly working through the process with the co-ops. But those pilot sites, they're not accepting any new people. So that's getting phased out. But what we had confirmation on is that the people that have been there for testing for vaccination round 2 have to go back to the same place that they went and got the first one. We've been trying to work through it today to see if we could have them just go to Moorhead, sneak them in. We only have 6 people to have done. They don't want to do that. So anyway, we're tonight I will, since we just got this about 4:30 or so, tonight I'll email those 6 people. I've been in contact with some of them over the weekend.
because they all received correspondence last Friday, I believe it was, to set up for their testing this week, because they also had the Pfizer, so the 21 days, so they're due this week. We also heard today that there's another 100 and some that are going to be available tomorrow. So it's first come, first serve on that. And we have 40, I believe right now it's 44 total left to do. So it's possible we could get done tomorrow. We'll be done Thursday for sure with round one. Then, they're going to start up round two. So that's going to be one of the interesting components of this. We know that our first group that had it done through the county had the Pfizer. So the first 50 that had the Pfizer on January 26th, so that will be next week. Their 21-day window will hit later in the week. And then every other one that was done after that was with the, never remember, Moderna. So that will start, that will be a leg, because then that's a 28-day. So the good thing is, if we don't have to worry about a 28 and a 21 doubling up. We got 21 first, so everything from that should just go consecutive. So we've been to go hand in hand with that, and something we put out. I put out a week or two ago, and we've had discussions, leadership teams, and what else not. We've been trying to look at the planning for getting all the kids back to 5 days a week. And part of that is we're doing it in conjunction with as we get the testing done. So right now,
vaccinations?
I'm sorry, the vaccinations.
I just want to clarify.
Testing and vaccinations.
Testing, what are we testing?
So the vaccinations, the hope is that the vaccinations will be done probably the first week of March or so. It should link in pretty well with that. And then, of course, they want us to have the extra 7 days afterwards, and 14 if you can, for optimum, to make sure that your system has it all in the system to maximize the potential of the vaccine. So with all of that, we've been talking as a leadership cabinet about looking at trying to get setting a target date. And as we've gone through construction, we know you can have all the targets you want, and sometimes those are movable. But we feel pretty comfortable with the idea that by March 22nd, we're setting as a target to be able, at that point, we should have all of our staff who wanted to get vaccinated done. And then we'll look at, we'll have time to get everybody up to speed, the staff time to be able to make those changes, transportation, everything else, and then implement 5 days a week. So that looks like about the earliest time. That does give us some time then also with assuming we have testing, and I'm talking about testing the MCAs. Our testing for MCAs began in early April. So again, it's coordinating, giving some time to do the review components. There is a possibility of some of this stuff is all leading one to the next. At a statewide call today with Minnesota Department of Health and Minnesota Department of Ed concerning the ESSA federal regulations regarding accountability, the AYP, and all those lovely things with statewide assessment testing. Interesting, and we're going to have more discussions on Wednesday in our admin cabinet meeting. I'm not going to. I didn't want to give you a printout of all this stuff because it's going to be more details than you need to know. But just I wanted to at least provide you with some baseline of how this works. Typically, when you're looking at all the components that drive whether a school is getting targeted services, whether a school district has been identified in need of improvement, it comes down to a number of factors, including how well we do with system accountability on the testing, how well the students do individually, graduation rates. So there's a few different components that could ding you on the federal ESSA legislation. Each state had come up with their own AYP process. Minnesota's done that, of course. That is our testing system. The federal government, when we had the change of presidents, there was not continuation of the waiver. This is probably the most important component of this. And I'm not going to go into politics on this one. But bottom line is, there isn't a federal allowance to do a waiver. We had a waiver this past year. The waiver means we don't test. So there was a waiver for 2020. Last year's, we didn't do any testing as far as the AYP with federal regulations. Now, this year, we have to, unless it can happen, it's very possible that the Biden administration may authorize a waiver. However, that will not take place until Secretary of Education is named. They're going through confirmation hearings right now. So it's all about timing, when that gets confirmed by the Senate, and how long it takes to get that waiver approved at the federal level. So that's possible. But unless it happens, the state of Minnesota, MDE, has submitted an addendum. There isn't a waiver provision, but there's an addendum provision. And the big difference is, if it's an addendum, it means you have to do testing. But the process for each state on what the AYP is going to be based on, that's why there's an addendum. Because typically you look at 3 years of testing history, consecutive history, but we won't have consecutive history because of 1920 we didn't do testing. Here's where it gets really strange. I've never seen in an MDE PowerPoint that data is going to be weird, but that was actually in a PowerPoint today, so it was pretty strange when you see that. What they're going to do is the addendum that they submitted to the federal government, 2020-21, this year is the base year. Since they didn't have last year data, they're going to count 2018-19 4 times the value. Okay, that's going to get 4 times the value for that year's testing data. Next year's data is going to get 2 times the value of 2020-21. So that should be a really fun thing for the psychometricians to be able to walk through all of that data and try to figure it out. Shannon, I agree with you. I was shaking my head quite a bit as I was going through this stuff. So again, that's the present plan. Now, the smaller the districts, the more variability you have. Because you're putting 4 times that value in that 1 year of testing. If you happen to have great test scores in 18-19, you're in great shape. If that happened to be one of those years that your test scores weren't as good, it's like saying, hey, you had so much fun in 18-19, we're going to let you revisit that process and do this all over again. So, that's why we're going to talk about it on Wednesday as an admin team, because again, it's just one more of those things that we got to deal with. And again, we'll work the problem with it. That's the only thing we can do. And then wait to see if there's a waiver. But I just want you to, if you get asked questions by people, how does that AYP process work? It's a moving target based on what's happening. Okay, so I would say the best thing is send them our way. The building principals, myself, because we're going to be sifting through our data, our test scores, to figure out how much of an impact that 18-19 is going to have on this year's scores. So I want you to be at least aware of that part. We're working through having a lot of meetings with MDE, regional meetings on the CARES Act money. What we do know is CARES Act 1, which is the money we received this current year, the good thing is that actually now can be spent. We can utilize that through fall of 22. The new money, we can go through to fall, September of 23. So it gives us time to look at the planning, summer, school, all of those things we want to do to help those students that may be struggling, may have some gaps. Again, that's what we're going to be starting on working in March. I mean, we've had conversations. We don't have a choice. We need to get the leadership teams involved, and we need to start talking about how is it going to look for summer of 21. What are we going to do with busing? What are we going to do with, again, they don't have to come, but to encourage people to make the most of it, to get those dates set up at the elementary level, the middle school level, so that we can work around, work with summer rec programming and trips that people want to take. So, there will be a lot of work on that. The last, just a couple more things. Building construction. I've been emailing and, we've been going back and forth today with Lee. The latest update I got was a little after 5 o'clock. The Glendon, again, these things have to be done by site, submitted to the state. The process and what else not. They haven't received it back as far as comments from the review on Dilworth yet. We know that was submitted a week ago. Glendon was submitted the week before that. So as of today, they just got the comments back from Glendon. 14 more comments. So 14 more things they got to respond on. People have asked, when are we going to see a timeline on the website? Part of it is, you really can't get the timeline. It's not going to be very accurate until you know when you can start the construction. So, I would ask everybody to be patient I think we've all had to learn to be patient with everything with COVID and what else not. If they're going to be working on them this week, they're going to get the Glendon comments back this week to the state. I don't know if it's going to, Lee and I are going to be, he's going to call me tomorrow and we're going to talk about that. I need to get an idea in my head. When do they think they'll submit it? Hopefully by sometime next week, the Glendon permit is done. And maybe the following week, the Dilworth permit is done. But that tells me we're really looking at March 1st now. So you got another month. So not the greatest news, but again, it goes hand in hand with not setting up. I talked to Lee about let's get a plan for a work session. But again, even the work session with the board and the administration, what's the point of doing it until you get the permits done and you can talk timelines? So again, this is all got to just fall into place. Unfortunately, we're kind of at the mercy of the process. And we'll just keep working through it. The best thing we did was proactively plan to move everything to fall of 22. It gives us more latitude to be working with the components. And right now, if we were trying to do things with site work, this would not be a very economic time to be doing site work when it's 15 below and plus. We'd be spending a lot of extra money on it. So I'm crossing my fingers that March is going to be a beautiful March and early spring, and we're going to be able to get foundations. We're going to get all that stuff going in March. And of course, Santa's going to come and deliver presents to all of us also. But, let's see how it goes. So.
Well, once you hear from Lee, kind of when you get more hear about the permit.
Believe me, when there's a permit approval, I will be emailing out the board, the admin team, everybody. We may even do an instant alert. it's so frustrating, but we gotta roll with it. We just have to.
That's all we can do. And, we'll get a work session going. We'll have Shannon come down and the new board members can meet Lee and Dan and Jason and everybody. And as soon as we get those permits, we'll communicate and get a date.
And we're gonna do the same thing as far as which, and Shannon and I talked a little bit about last week, and we'll start putting together, transition, getting Shannon at the meetings as we're looking at our admin cabinet meetings and the oversight committee meetings. Part of it is, I know he's got a district there also. I don't want to inundate him, and hey, by the way, we want you for everything at DGF right now. Been there, done that, you got to transition.
Yep.
You got to work between two school districts and do it right, so.
All right, thank
Any
you, Brian.
questions?
Any questions for him?
In regards to opening up the schools, 2 questions. Are we considering the whole school, K through 12? And the second part is, we then aren't required by those space limitations when we didn't have room like we had before, or how does that fit in?
There's, the thing is, what we've been looking at is first of all, if you go to 5 days a week, you're not in hybrid. So you're less restrictive if you can go direct. And if, when we look at the Safe Learning Plan language, the language was switched. There was a subtle change in it that talks about, for the adults, having a 6-foot separation, but you don't have the same amount of separation with the students. So because of multiple factors. So you no longer have that 6-foot piece. Do you want to try to get as close to 6 as possible? Yes. But again, if we can get to 5 days a week with everyone, then we don't have to do the 50%, change the capacities and all that for the square footage component. So, there are, again, families that have concerns can still choose. I think we'll be going into with the idea, either come 5 days a week or your distance 5 days a week. Because we don't want to have all you who choose 5 days a week and some of you who want hybrid, we can't do that, because then we've got different rules that we have to do with the busing and everything else. So it's going to be 5 days a week or you go distance. And of course, that will, once we get that, then like I said, we've got to, if we have to do the statewide testing, then we've got to figure out who's not going to want to get tested. Because remember, the families can opt out of the testing. So if they're in distance mode and they do not want their sons or daughters to do the test, they can do it. The problem for us as a school district is it's in statute. So this isn't something we can go around if we don't get the waiver. Those students who choose not to test count as a 0 for us on our lovely achievement. It's like they didn't get any, they get 0 for a score. So it counts against the denominator, the amount of people who, quote, tested. We can't exempt them. So again, that's why, there's a lot of reasons that, we want to get the kids back. And I think we can get the vaccines done and what else not. But, talking to some soups, when you're looking at districts that got 30% of the kids going distance, and if those kids, those families don't want to come in, and you can't make arrangements for small group work for them to come in to do the test, you already got 0s on 30% of your kids. So you can imagine what the AYP is going to look like. So that wasn't great news for us today, but again, even starting to having the discussion with the principals, right away Heidi was talking about, well, at least then we'll know how many kids and who we got to contact for families, encourage them to come in for small group sessions, and we'll hire people to be there to proctor the tests, and if they need to do it outside of hours, and we'll do all those things to try to help out with it. But again, it's just going to be a lot of planning.
I have a question too. So I love that 5 days, obviously, we're all happy to get kids back. But we're still gonna have teachers in the middle and high school doing the distance and the in-person at the same time, right?
I'm assuming what they'll do, and Heidi can probably speak to it, but it would be the same as, I think it'd be similar. We're not gonna do two different types of, let's put it this way, two things. We're not gonna have, two different types of instructional preparation. Where you do one type for the distance kids. If they're gonna be distance, they would be coming in on the Google meeting and have to be at regular attendance at the regular schedule. So the teachers prepping would not be any different. The kids are there, they're just over computer with it. So they will not be preparing two different types of lessons.
But I feel like teachers will still have to be putting that stuff online, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
will regardless if they
Right.
have to or not, but that's extra time. So I guess as a teacher, I'm concerned about the extra prep work without the extra time to do it. Because like right now, I know they get Wednesdays for all the virtual stuff and for their meetings and the collaboration. And now if we put that Wednesday back in, when will they have time?
Well,
to do that?
and that's required because you're in distance or virtual.
Yep.
That's never been required for the 5 days a week. Any sites that have been in 5 days a week.
To put
So-
them online, is what you're saying?
And as far as putting them online, I think we already have a lot of teachers that do online. I mean, my daughter has been going through classes and most of hers before COVID, she was doing a lot of it online lessons. And I know at middle school, they have some of the teachers that do the same. So, whether, if it's something that, I'm sure the union will let us know if it's something that they feel they need more time for prep, but let's face it, everybody, that comes with, it's no different than if you've ever had a student or, that has had an injury on their home body. And what do? You do those things as a teacher. So.
Brittany, we did talk about this at one of our meetings. I don't remember if it was a leadership or a staff meeting, but we talked about whether they would, they preferred with like the hybrid model, have them join Google Meets because they felt like that was less work for them because they could teach the same and they could go in the same process with their content and their curriculum. So that was something that they had talked about liking before. And so when we start to have these conversations with them about going back 5 days a week, we'll talk about that again. But my guess is that they've gotten so darn good at it, is that they're just going to go, let's just finish this year this way. And the one thing that we have said is, like Brian mentioned earlier, is we don't want the hybrid. If it's either 5 days a week or distance learning, that they can work with, especially with having Mary Westgard to coordinate so much of that contact and everything. That's been really helpful. I think what's going to be interesting is how many distance learners we have and how many we'll have in the building. And that's something that we're going to have to get commitment from families about so we can plan accordingly. So, but it is something to bring up and talk about leadership as we go through this next process again.
Thanks.
I know that the conversation I had with one of the teachers said, one thing that has come about this is, in the past, you always hit some weeks whether the flu bug's going through and all those things, and you end up having 15 kids or whatever, they're all trying to make up, and you're trying to figure out how do you help them make up, and they weren't at the lectures, what else not? Well, if you're doing these, and you're recording them in the first place, now at least, even if they're sick, they can look at that stuff, and you don't have to try to prepare extra packets and what else not for these kids, because it's there already. So, this is one of those, changes with the times. But we'll, like Heidi said, it's something you just have to go through the process with the leadership teams and let's hear concerns and see what it's going to look like. So.
I feel like I know maybe the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Do you have any classes that you think are going to get too big with the virtual learners not coming back that you're going to have to add a section or add a teacher?
Well, I think what's going to happen, Brittany, is especially at the high school level. It's not gonna be the issue at the middle school because,
Oh, I'm thinking like elementary, you know how like the younger
No.
kids, okay.
no, because elementary, you know, if you look at, and again, you guys gotta let me know, I've been trying as I go into my big folders, like enrollment and all that stuff. If you can't see the enrollment folder, shoot me an email because there's gonna be folders that I've given to all the board members, and every time we have a change in board members, I have to go back and find all the
Yeah.
folders that I shared. The ones you should be able to have access to, capital, for instance. We have all the history of the capital, everything we've done with capital. Finance, enrollment, all of those things I've shared with the board so that you can look at the history on it and trend reports with it. So if you don't see those things, shoot me an email and I'll go in. And to be honest, I do that every night trying to, you know, all of a sudden I'll look at a couple of them just to see if I've changed the names. Because to be honest, I had a couple that still had Rich Hansen, you know, so that it puts it in perspective. You know, you add them, but you don't take them out. We haven't gotten to the point of putting those as shared folders yet. It's the migration of about 700 folders that I got to go through.
And no, that's okay. I was just thinking, I didn't know how many young virtual learners we had. I didn't know if it'd make a
We're in
difference
really good shape
our,
on that,
in our
because
sections.
we were just looking at, you know, I approve open enrollment every day.
Mhm.
And so we're tracking as the open enrollment comes in. Most of it's for next fall, but some of them are for this current year. And so then we got to look at how many kids do we have in the sections, how many kids do we have that are virtual right now or at home, comparable, so that when we go to 5 days a week, we're not going to sit there with 25 or 26 kids in the section. I can say for a fact that we've got 24 at most, even when we get everybody back. What the high school is going to have to do, and I know Wayne and Katie have been through the process, and we've been looking at it, is the fact that some people may have to switch rooms for some periods. Because you got 17 kids in one period, but then you might have 28 in the next. And that room might not be conducive for the 28. So they'll have to make some of those switches. And again, some people aren't gonna like that because they lose, quote, my room, but it's our district's rooms. So
You were gonna be short.
Sorry,
but that's good. These are
I like
good
to know
ones
what
for the
I'm
public.
thinking about.
Yeah, that's okay.
These are good ones for the public to hear, so.
All right. Well, any other questions for Brian? No, we're good. All right, 7, approval of minutes. We have a lot of them. So let's start with 7.1. This was our regular meeting on January 25th. Do we have a motion? Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by David. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7.2, special meeting, January 25th. This was our meeting with the MSBA. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nicole. Is there a second? Second by Laura. Is any discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7.3, special meeting, January 28th, 29th. This is our first round of interviews for the superintendent candidacy. Do we have a motion? Motion by Laura. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Amy. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7.4, special meeting, February 22nd. This is our final round of candidates for our superintendent position. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nicole. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ronnie. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, claims and accounts, Laura.
$77,162.69.
We also have approve a donation from Wansneck and in the amount of $500 for the DGF weight room. Resignation of Mike Miller, custodian, effective January 27th. Do we have a motion? Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brittany. Any questions or discussion?
I got one question
Yep.
probably for Brian. On the Karcher rider, Bill said something about will not charge $2,000, but I'm assuming maybe that meant they have good batteries in it, you know?
Say that again on the what?
It's for the Karcher rider is what it says. imagine a cleaner.
Oh, the one that,
It said it will not charge, that line just says $2,000, but then batteries for 0, so I'm guessing maybe, seemed like a lot to figure out what was in charging on it, but I'm guessing they probably had to put batteries in, I don't know.
yes, that's what it was. And I had the same question on how much money I was spending on batteries. And didn't we take the other batteries when we traded in or? Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. 9.1, this is a resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons. This is something for our new board members, we do this every year. Just gives our administration the authority to evaluate all our programming and if we need to increase, decrease, all that kind of stuff. So we need a motion and a second, then I'll have Amy read it. So do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Ronnie moves, is there a second?
Second.
Second by David. All right, so have at it, Amy.
Resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons thereof. Whereas the financial condition of the school district dictates that the school board must reduce expenditures immediately, and whereas the reduction of expenditure must include discontinuance of positions and discontinuance of or curtailment of programs. And whereas a determination must be made as to which teachers' contracts must be terminated and not renewed, and which teachers may be placed on unrequested leave of absence without pay or fringe benefits and affecting discontinuance of positions. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District number 2164 as follows, that the school board hereby directs the superintendent of schools and administration to consider the discontinuance of programs or positions to effectuate economies in the school district and reduce expenditures, and make recommendations to the school board for the discontinuance of programs, curtailment of programs, discontinuance of positions, or curtailment of positions. The motion for this adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by David. It was introduced by Ronnie today.
All right, since this is a resolution, we'll do a roll call vote. Laura? Aye. David?
Aye.
Amy? Aye. Myself, aye. Ronnie?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Brittany? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. 9.2, this is a non-certified contract for Brianna Erickson, paraprofessional, $16.69 an hour, effective February 4th of 2021. Do we have a motion? Motion by Amy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by David. Any questions?
And yes, you did approve her resignation the last time.
She wanted to stay.
The very next day, it was like, hey, I really want to come back.
Okay. I'll change your mind. People do that. We're allowed. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right, 9.3, this is our superintendent contract for FY22, superintendent contract for Shannon Hunstead. This will be effective July 1st, 2021. Do you want to put the total package or do you need to announce the just salary?
It's up to you how you want it.
David, how do you want me to
Well,
have her rate this total package?
I mean, we don't know, sometimes the TRA and some of that stuff switches the rates. So I think I would go with salary.
Salary?
yeah, salary.
Okay.
Term of
So,
the contract and salary probably.
okay, so if you want to rate this up, so the salary will be $140,000. And then what did you want her to add in there, Lenny?
3-year contract.
3-year contract. Okay, we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Nicole, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brittany. Any discussion or questions?
I'd just like to make a comment. I think you handled it. I think you did a great job with the process as a school board. And, you know, it's a lot of work. All the meetings you have, I know you put a lot of time in. I remember you guys talking the one night, the fact that you've been reading through them and looking at the resumes 3-4 times. You know, that you know, should tell everybody, and I think it's important for the public to know that, you know, everybody took this very serious. And I can say, just sitting in with the Finance Personnel Committee, that there was great discussions about looking at regional information, looking at past contracts of mine, and I just applaud you for the process.
Thank you.
It was tiring.
It was tiring.
I mean, actually, that first day, we were played out, I think, for just the two that first morning.
Yeah.
And once Lindsay got rid of her butterflies the last day, we were good.
And I feel very good about the successor taking over. So,
Oh, wonderful. All right, well, without any further ado, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're really done with it. All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Shannon. We look forward to having you down here.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh,
Oh, there you are.
I just want to say, sorry. I just want to say thank you to everyone. And yeah, it is a process. So thank you very much.
Glad to have you. Okay, so fiscal personnel will be meeting on Monday, February 22nd. Just look at 5 o'clock, look for, Brian will send us an email if we're not gonna have it. And if I know that we won't, I'll let people that I'm on fiscal personnel, I'll let you guys know. Next board meeting is Monday, February 22nd, 6 o'clock in the DGF High School Media Center. Any other things we need to talk about
Was
before
there
we
gonna
adjourn?
be like a work session that we were gonna try to do later in the month?
We are now gonna wait on that until the JLG, those comments come back. So as soon as those comments come back, and we can like make a good plan, then we'll have Shannon join us, and then we'll have all the players at the table, and then Brittany and Nicole can hear all about the project. So once that's all done, does that sound good? I just want to give you guys plenty of time, like is a couple of weeks to let your work know you're gonna not be there. Is that okay, or?
I can't promise that, but
Yeah, well, and I understand, you know, it's hard with work. Definitely, we'll try to work around that, and we can certainly record the entire content of the meeting too, so. Yeah, other than that, I think we're good, so.
we've got, next meeting, we'll be bringing forward the people that, fiscal personnel have come up with a dollar amount for retirees. That's beyond what's in the master agreement. So I'm in the process of contacting all of them, talking about the timeline that basically they'll have from now until leading up to the meeting on the 22nd. We'll just have to make a decision if there's a reason for fiscal personnel to be meeting with that.
Okay. Oh, that sounds good. All right, what time do we got, Amy, on your phone?
6:57.
6:57, meeting's adjourned.